Welcome back to MMA Sucka Fight fans. My name's Nate Freeman. I'm joined today by Joseph Mueller, who is competing in the World Games in Muay Thai representing Team USA. Joseph, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, So first and foremost, I do have to ask you, your last name's Mueller. So how often do you get the Ferris Bueller reference and they just change it to Mueller? Do you get that a lot?
Um, to be honest, not really. It's kind of funny. It's kind of came up maybe in the last year or so, actually, more frequently than ever before. And I honestly actually also bring it up because I figure like, oh, people have to have seen that movie. So when I'm like, say it's Mueller, I'm like, it's Bueller with an M. But it doesn't come up that often actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like my dad, especially, he watched Ferris Bueller a lot, but I feel like my dad, if he knew you, he'd be saying that all the time.
Yeah, and a
Yeah,
generational thing. I don't know, a lot of younger people maybe aren't familiar or that familiar.
yeah, which is sad. It's a good movie.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, and then second thing, your nickname is peculiar, and not only does that like rhyme with not well, it sort of rhymes. It sounds like your last name, but it also, I think, from what I've been able to gather, is describes you really well. And so I guess go about explain how you went about choosing this nickname and explain what exactly the nickname means to you.
Um, well, so I actually didn't choose the nickname. I've been I've been nicknamed like a lot of different things. um, and when I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Um, so back there, um, you know, I had a bunch of different nicknames within the gym that I trained at. Like when I first started Muay Thai, guys joked around like calling me like the water bug because of like how I moved around the ring. The walking stick because of like whenever I would make contact or kick or whatever, it was just like I'm really skinny and bony, so it was like always like slaps like stinging. Um, uh, so it just felt like you were getting hit with a stick. And then we had like 8 different Joes that trained in the gym. So I was skinny. I was Skinny Joe. And then we had like several, like, Shaggy Joe, Shorty, Joe Shorty, and so on. And then when I moved into the professional field, like from amateur to professional, I kind of had to start promoting myself more. So like around that time, for several years, I had a handlebar mustache, and a friend of mine called me the gentleman. But when I moved to Florida about 5 years ago, my coach there, Asa Tim Powell, he was asking me about if I had a nickname, and I never really used I or addressed myself with my nickname or anything like that. And I just kind of said no, I didn't have one. And he was just like in the ring, we were training together, and he's just like Peculiar Mueller, and I was like, that's got a good rhyme. It kind of reminded me of like old boxing nicknames, and the fact that it came from my coach, I thought that was cool, so I just liked it. And yeah, it did ring with my last name. But to me, yeah, sure, it definitely like fits like me, I think, to a T. As far as being a weird person or just like embracing that weirdness, I guess. But also, just my style is very different. The way that I fight is unique and very peculiar. I think very different than what most people see. Um, I don't know that I'm necessarily the most technical, although I do maybe have certain aspects that I am rather technical in. But at the same time, um, I'm not like the prettiest fighter to watch either. Um, Although, like, I try to always put on like a fireworks show and very like um, high pace. Um, maybe some high level techniques, extravagant techniques. So I guess it just kind of falls in pretty well underneath peculiar to me.
Yeah, so it's not always the most technical fighter that gets the most fans. It's the one that is the most exciting. So um, that makes you an exciting fighter. If you're pushing the pace and throwing heavy strikes and landing, I think that makes you a fan favorite. So
I
then,
like so,
go ahead.
but also then like I guess in a professional sense shortens, like, let's say your lifespan as a fighter, because like you can't, like, wanting to put on like crazy bloody fights is something I love to do, and sitting there and exchanging, like, those are the fights I like to watch, so those are the fights I like to be in. I think they're fun, one, for me, two, I think they're fun for the fans, but as a professional and like a career, it's not, there's not much longevity when you think about it like that. So you have to, at some point, you have to try to fight a little bit different and a little smarter.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you have been on both the giving and receiving of end of those kind of fights recently. First and foremost, in the U.S. trials, you won three different fights. In the finals, you won by stoppage. Give me your reflections on the U.S. trials and what you learned there.
Well, wow, yeah. I think I learned a lot. But I also, like, I don't know, that was a very interesting experience, like, for me. Like, I, man, I don't know if you ever listened to any other, like, high level athletes, and like the whole, the mind is so important, I think, for this sport. Like, we all train really hard, but I think what sets us apart from one another is like where who we are, our minds. And I really visualized and focused on visualizing everything and little things about this. Like, I wanted that so bad. I wanted to be where I am now, like going to the World Games where I'm going right now tomorrow morning, which is still like amazing and so crazy. Like, because watching some of the other sports online, it's so wild. Like, this is an event that I am a part of. I'm going to be a part of. Um, so being there, like, I really honed in on visualizing everything, and I feel like I really did envision to a T, almost, like, really like exactly to like how it happened and played out, and which is really weird to think about and say out loud, that I like thought of that I like made that happen, that I was my own god in a sense. um it was a very tough competition. Everybody, like, it was such a cool experience. That's the best in the US signed up. A lot of people didn't show, or for several reasons, injuries, I don't know, maybe weight, they weren't able to make the weight, with everyday weigh-ins, the morning of, and everything like that. I'm sure there's other explanations as well, but all of my fights were tough fights. Normally, so all my whole career, I've I'm a tiny person. I'm a tiny fighter. So most of my fights have been at 125. Um, I have gone up to 145 and like 40 and 35 and 32 and 30, because of how difficult it was to maintain staying active at 125. Um, and now I'm 32, so I'm older, I'm bigger, I've put on muscle too. So I have gone up in size, but still, like, as a professional, I fight at 130. I'll cut to 130, 132, 135 still. But um, this was at 140, which, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is in the sense of fighting, as far as like pounds, because the people I'm fighting at 140, they're cutting 20 pounds. So they're walking maybe on a lean day, like strong 160. And, I'm not really that big. Like, sure, I could hit 160, but I'm not eating the like clean, and I'm not. I'm just not in the same shape that I am at 140. So and the height and size differences are big. So like all the guys I fought were my height, and I thought they were quite strong. Like, so like my thought process, one, this is a sport, so I had to play the game right. So speed was important, movement was important, and points were important. So I had to like land as many shots in like a small period of time that I could, and maybe negate getting hit, or just not get hit. And that was my game plan going in there. My first fight was against a young kid from a really good gym um, from California. And most people might know this coach, Brian Popejoy. He he's definitely one of the higher level coaches, I'd say, in the USA. So his student, I think, has done a lot of these maybe smaller USMF and IFMA related tournaments. So he was much more aware of the game, if you will, for the IFMA scoring than myself. I've been a professional for probably 6+ years or something like that. So like the way I fight is different. Um, a lot of these younger kids have like a lot of opportunities growing now with these tournaments that are quite often and competing, and it is a good setup for them for this game, this IFMA scoring system. So that was a tough fight. He was very strong, um, but it was fun, and uh, it also woke me up to the elevation, which was insane. I thought like I was gonna be special. I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing things different than some of these other fighters. I'm swimming, I'm sprinting, I'm doing things that nobody else that I'm fighting is doing. I'm pushing my cardio harder, and I feel good. And that was the thing. I did feel good. I was running, I was swimming, I was doing all these things in Colorado and felt great. But once that bell like ring, and I got in that, like I was in that ring and had to start moving, like everything changed. Like it was a whole other like world I was in all of a sudden. And then it's weird to explain because it wasn't like I was gasping for air. It wasn't like I was like on an Aerodyne bike just like sprinting for a whole minute or something. Like my muscles, my body was just like turning to jello. Like my arms, I couldn't hold my arms up. It was really, really difficult. Like sure, maybe I like, if I were to be honest, I was tired. Like I maybe later in the rounds I was having harder time breathing, harder than normal, but it wasn't anything like I thought to be. I don't know. It was definitely much more muscular. I feel like maybe like the oxygen in my blood cells or something, like getting through my muscles and everything. That was more fatiguing. My second fight was again a really strong opponent. That also with a lot of experience, I think much more than myself. With this IFMA scoring and USMF tournaments and things. He was also out of the gym um, that the president of the USMF organization. He trains out of that gym in Houston, which I actually passed through and stayed for a week to train at on my way out to. I'm in Arizona currently, um, and that was another really tough fight. But again, both those fights, I won the first 2 rounds for sure, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, I definitely won the first 2 rounds. So I'd like use the third round coast more, and I can't remember if I won those third rounds or not. I think it's possible I might have lost one. Um, one of those third rounds in one of those fights. I don't know which one or both, because they pushed more, probably trying to come back and win than myself for that third round. And my third fight, as you mentioned, was a stoppage, which was, you know, it's difficult to talk about in a sense, because in the moment I was, it was a tough fight. Like the elevation really hit me really hard in that fight because of the last few days fighting back to back, and then like the pressure of what that fight meant to get to this place right here, right now. So I had a lot on me. Like I broke down crying actually driving to the venue that day. And so it was really emotional getting in the ring there. And I lost the first round, but the second, like, you know, I had my team with me. I didn't have my coach with me, and my team assured me like, hey, like, you know, keep doing this, keep doing that. And I just did what they wanted me to do. I realized that I had hurt him with like a low kick. I was changing my stance and circling. He was a southpaw, and I'm an orthodox fighter, so like I was circling to my right, and I took out his back leg, and he started changing his stance. So like I knew that I did something to his leg, hurt it. So I just kept attacking that leg, and I could hear people in the crowd outside of the ring, saying the same thing. So like that wasn't a confidence boost. And then when I saw him buckle on it, I really just started honing in on it and attacking it. And he was a very tough, tough cat. He did not want to give up. He wasn't going to give up. There was no way he was going to give up. He wanted this spot just as much as me, if not more, because like I don't know that if that was me in that position, I don't know how I would react to that. I don't know how I would handle that. I don't know if I would have kept going. I don't know if I would have quit. You know, I can't say because I haven't been in that situation before yet. But you know, he did. He wanted it. He wanted to keep pushing. But after me attacking that leg enough, the referee made the smartest decision for that fighter, to stop it. And I was overcome with joy. Like, it, you know, hindsight looking at it, I wouldn't have ever reacted that way in any other fight, because, I respect this guy a whole lot. He was a really good fighter, and anybody I step in the ring with, I respect. But everything I had been going through, everything that I had done to get to that point, everything, that fight meant, and it's taken me to the World Games, like an entry step to the Olympics. So, like, I don't know, like, I was really excited. After the fact, I had found out that he had tore his ACL, and I felt really bad that I had reacted the way that I did to that victory, because taking a step backwards, like the whole peculiar thing, like in my excitement, I was just being like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a rock star slide. So I was excited, and I'm running in the ring. I was like, I'm gonna slide on my knees, do a rock star slide. So like I tried to do so, and it just goes, whoop, and it, like, the friction just like popped up, and I was like, oh well, okay, I'm gonna just make this look like I meant, to do something else. So then I like slammed my hands on the mat or something, like out of excitement, and like just probably
that's not a good idea to slide on canvas, I wouldn't think.
No, look like a complete idiot, but like, and I laughed about it afterwards. But then obviously, like, I didn't realize what was going on with my opponent. Like, I thought, like, hell yeah, I kicked him in the leg, and he, like, just couldn't put pressure and weight on it anymore. It was bruised. It was, a dead leg, like, which I think most fighters understand. Like, leg kicks suck. They accumulate, and you can't put weight on that leg. So like that's what I had thought had happened. I wasn't thinking like, oh, he tore his ACL or something like that. I had, no disrespect to him or his team. But hindsight afterwards, I realized that like I had probably reacted not in the best manner. I could have reacted a little bit different. But that was still a very exciting moment because like, here I am, I'm going to the Olympic recognized World Games. So yeah, I was really fucking excited, and I don't regret that, but I do wish that I like maybe could have contained it until after maybe I got out of the ring a little bit more possibly. But I know that was a really long explanation, but I hope that kind of like answered your question.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, you have every reason to be excited to be coming to the World Games. I think that, yeah, I think your celebration was warranted, even if it was unfortunate, even though you didn't know. And shout out to Sean Climaco as he is still undergoing his recovery from his torn ACL. And okay, so moving on to the IFMA tournament, you won your first fight there, and then in your second fight, you got stopped yourself. Give me your reflections on that. I know I've spoken to some people, and they mentioned about how hungry you were even right after you lost, how hungry you were to come back and just improve right away and get right back in there.
Yeah, can you say that one more time because I want to make sure that I don't like drag on too long. I'm sorry, but like I don't want to answer it the wrong way or start off the wrong way. But
No, you're fine. So I was saying that in the IFMA tournament, you won your first fight, and then your second fight, you got stopped. I heard from different people that I've talked to on the team, talking about how hungry you were and how like eager you were to get back in there after you lost. So just talk to me about your reflections from the IFMA tournament, and I guess talk about what you have been doing to improve between that loss and coming into the World Games.
okay, yeah, that was I don't know. I don't know that I would say weird, but I guess it happens to everybody at some point in time. Like when you're going out there and stepping in like a boxed in, location, and two guys are going to be throwing punches and kicks and knees and elbows at each other, trying to take each other's heads off. Like, it's only a matter of time. Here I am 50 plus fights in, and this is the first time I've ever been knocked out. And at that scale, like at that level, like every single person you're ever going to compete with, like in one of these tournaments, these IFMA tournaments are like super high level. So the guy I lost to, the guy who, was, the one who gave me that boat ride, was also the same guy who went to the finals and took home the gold and beat Thailand. So if there was anybody that was gonna give me that, that death sentence, it was an honor to receive it from him. And yeah, it made me really, really hungry. Like, I guess like looking at it, like I watched the knockout afterwards. It was a bad knockout. But like I was very hungry, and I knew, so stepping in the ring, like I was, I don't know, I was maybe too hungry and too worked up and working to land my right hand and put this guy away way too much. I wasn't thinking tactically. I wasn't thinking. I was just trying to like wreak havoc. And like here I am on this big stage at first time ever, fighting in one of these IFMA tournaments. I had a lot going in my head. A lot of people had told me before going out there, like a lot of people said a lot of bad things, like you're gonna, like, you'll never fight any, like, I don't know, just like not necessarily things you don't want to hear, but it's just like I don't know, like, oh, you're gonna be fighting like toughest people. Like, man, there are toughest people, but I'm also one of the toughest people. Like, I'm one of the toughest people in the U.S. Like, I won this tournament to find, like, there's a reason why I'm the one that's going to this tournament. Like, I'm qualified to compete with these guys. Um, but you know, that kind of seeped in. My coach, he also was knocked out his first time fighting for one of these, so like that was kind of on my mind. So I had a few, like, some, I don't know if I would say negative thoughts, but like in a sense, yeah, they were negative thoughts that were going through my mind. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about it so much in that sense that, like, just like at the qualifiers, like I had made this a reality. Like I had brought this to fruition. Like I was thinking about that happening to me. And here I was, and I created a situation for that to happen. Um, you know, I knew I was down. Um, I kept, like, I knew I had to leave everything there. I wasn't gonna walk away from that fight and like just accept defeat. So like, I was doing everything I could to, you know, to get that knockout, and stepping in with like, I leaned to my left pretty deep with my hand past my chin, throwing a big right hand, and he lobbed up a kick and caught me, and I went out. I was pretty like hungry after that. Like I woke up and like I had a lot of feelings. Like I always wondered what that was like, that feeling being knocked out. Like I had never been knocked out before, so it was an emotional ride. Like at first, I was like a little scared because I didn't know where I was, and then I recognized some faces and started to piece everything together. And then it's like, oh shit! I guess I got knocked the fuck out. And then you know, I started laughing about it, and then I started crying about it because I realized it was all over. Like that, there wasn't another chance. I couldn't like hit a redo button. I couldn't start over. It wasn't like a video game that like I had lost my last life and I can start back over at the beginning with like 3 more lives and give it another try. Like that was it. That was my go. So like I knew, like, I don't know. It just made me really hungry. Like, okay, I have this World Games coming up. Sorry, I'm like bouncing around a bit, but like, so going into that experience, like, I kind of set myself up. Like, I thought about it as like a warm up. I didn't feel like I had the best training. I was, you know, doing it myself. I just felt by myself training for that fight, and so when it happened, I was like, this is the biggest. That was the biggest fight, but now I have an even bigger fight, the World Games, in front of me. Like I can't do that again. I can't have that happen again. I want this more than anything. So like I made a decision to drive to Arizona and train with a few of the other USA members that are going to be competing at the event, and also one of the coaches that are going to be coaching us for the event. So I thought that would be the smartest thing to do, is to have a familiarity with the coach, and comfortability, and him understand me and me understand him, so that I could do and everything I could and within my power, to, to, to bring home a gold medal. And that's what I'm after this weekend coming up. Like I want that medal. I want a place. I want to bring that home. I put in a lot of work to get to where I am right now, and the moment, like that next day, like I went into the gym and I was working out. I ran for an hour, like at a pretty decent pace. I did like 300 squats, 100 push-ups straight. Like we were doing like some crazy workout, some of the other fighters that had lost, and myself. And then I got yelled at, like, what are you doing? You can't be training like that. You just got knocked out. And I was like, well, I don't know. You can't. like I understand it's hard being a fighter, wanting something like that's the difference within I think a lot of fighters is like what are you gonna do to get what you want? Like we all train super hard, but like it's like those inches that make the difference. And I know that I will make the decisions to do things that uncomfortable things that other people will never make and are scared to make. Like like just like I live in my car. I like I built out like a van life setup out of my car so that I could train more, so I could get by with less, so I can do this more and increase every chance little bit to put more into this to get this so that I can hopefully get this gold medal, do everything I can within my power. Like those little decisions just to sacrifice more and more and more. I constantly make those decisions and willing to make those decisions and scrape by with less and less and less, where I don't know that a lot of other people will. Um, and I don't know if that's going to be the deciding factor to make the difference or not, but I hope so. I think so. I believe it.
Yeah, we're really excited to see you fight in the World Games, and see all of that hard work that you've put in come to fruition, hopefully. Speaking of the World Games, you are in the same weight class. You are competing against some really talented fighters. Some of them came from the IFMA tournament. I don't think either of the fighters that you faced are going to be in the tournament, if I remember correctly, but there are some still talented folks. I know that the Thai fighter is really good from what I've seen and heard. But give me your thoughts on the bracket and if there's anybody that you'd like to face.
Um, I, I to be honest, um, there's no one that stands out to me that I want to face. That like I don't really care who I fight. I don't care, like I don't look at the names. I don't really study the people I'm gonna fight. I think about me, and I work on me, and that is my goal at the end of the day is to prepare myself for um, you know, as many different scenarios that could happen as possible. Um, not for a particular fighter or whatnot. I don't know. Like, I'll try not to set myself up because, I think it was Ali had said, like everybody has a game plan until they're hit in the face. So it's like, I try not to necessarily like game plans are nice, but I don't really think too far into a game plan for a particular fighter, if that makes sense. More so for myself, for how I want to win, for how I'm going to win. That's how I'm training or thinking, training my mind, training my body. Um, uh, I know that I think he's from Ukraine. Like they're always tough fighters. Like everyone in that division is from a country that's really tough. Like maybe if there's a few that I don't want to say like they're not tough or like they're walkovers or pushovers because every single one of them. Like I was saying, like Ali, I believe it was, had said everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the face. Um, so, um, or maybe that's Tyson. I don't remember, but somebody had said that, and
I think it
so
was Tyson. Yeah.
yeah, it was like yeah, it might have been Tyson. So um, yeah, I don't try to think about a specific fighter or get wrapped up on that. Like, I don't mind watching it with a coach or something, but I try to personally keep myself from watching anybody that I am fighting because I don't know. I think it's great studying fighters, but like approaching a fight, I try not to get consumed with watching someone I'm going to be fighting because literally that I can be consumed by it and my thoughts, and then I lay in bed thinking about it like way too much. Like not in a bad way necessarily always. It's just like um, it's just something I choose not to do. I prefer not to do. I feel better doing it. Um, I like working on the fly, I guess, in a sense. Um, but the Ukraine, I believe, in my bracket is probably one of the tougher fighters. Like they're like I was saying that everybody in that bracket is from a solid country. They all bring their A game to these IFMA tournaments. They're all like it's the best of the best in the world. But the Ukraine, I think he won 2017 or whatever. Well, the last year that was, he had won that World Games, and then. Um, I was that's really the only one I'm really too like familiar with.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're looking forward to, like I said, looking forward to seeing you compete there. Really quick, I just want to do a few rapid fire questions. One, what is your favorite book or movie?
Favorite book or movie? Ooh. Um wow. Man. So just because right off the bat what came to my mind a few different things for book. I really like this author Haruki um, Haruki Murakami. Um, he's a Japanese author. Um, I really like a few of his books. I've never read a book and been so like wrapped, like pulled into it, into the world that he creates. I really liked that a lot. Kafka on the Shore and the Wind Up Bird Chronicles specifically. Um, but right off the bat, when you mentioned that, I mean, if I were to think about it, I'd probably give you a different book. But Blink by Malcolm Gladwell came to mind, and I really like that. It's about the mind, the subconscious thoughts, and I like things like that a lot. Um, and movie, um, movies tough. There's so many good movies, but like right again, like when mentioning that, like Fight Club came to my mind, which was also just a great book. Was I actually like read the book before the movie, and the book's awesome too. And he's also one of my favorite authors, also Chuck Palahniuk. Um, but that's a great novel and film.
All right, cool. Okay, so I know that you have fought. You mentioned that this is your first time competing for IFMA, or like the last tournament was, but you did compete for Waco or WACO, the World Kickboxing Association. Um, what made you switch over to Muay Thai, and what have been some of the main differences other than like the elbows and knees and all of that?
Well, okay, so I've always loved Muay Thai, and that's been my passion and what I've always wanted to do more. So when it comes to IFMA or USMF in particular, for like being involved with those teams for those tournaments and things, it's always been kind of a favoritism, like who do you know type thing, and it's always been West Coast. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, like Midwest. There's no Muay Thai there, and so getting those opportunities was not always possible. And I took fights wherever I could, where like drove wherever I could. I did every single tournament, every single fight I could ever take, and never passed an opportunity down. I tried not to, um, you know, um, and so that just never really was on the board for me. Waco was I guess, kind of big in the Midwest, I guess, ish. And I fought for them as an amateur in 2012 or so. And that was actually the first time I got to leave the country and fly on a plane too, at like 19 years old or 20 years old or something like that. Actually, maybe I was 21, 21 years old. And we went to Brazil for a Pan American uh, tournament, um, North and South America, and I got two gold medals there in K1 and low kick. And So that was kind of my doorway. Like, well, I did a tournament to win that position first, but that was like kind of the doorway to just kind of sticking with them. And like, whenever opportunities were there, like that was the only year that they actually sponsored and like paid for our travels. Like, so the sports, Waco, IFMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever, it's not huge over here in the US. Like some of these guys, like, so, I've always heard this, but got to finally directly speak with, people from other teams at the IFMA tournament in Abu Dhabi. And, those guys get $50,000 just for like medaling. It doesn't even have to be a gold medal. That's awesome. And also insane. Like, not insane in the sense like, no, it's good for them. Like, it's awesome. I wish the sport was bigger here, that we had like those opportunities, which I don't necessarily understand why we don't or how we can't. Um, but that um, crap. So I had fought for Waco a lot because of that, and I did a fight like a USA versus Serbia in Serbia, and won by a knockout there. I had fought for them in Italy, I feel like a few other places too, possibly. Um, but like I just kind of got my foot in the door early on, and they kind of always contacted me when they needed somebody at that weight division. Fortunately, because again, the sport, I spend a lot of money into doing this sport as a professional still, even though I'm not an amateur anymore. So to pay for traveling just to train at a camp for some of these events and things, like I can't do that. I can't afford that. I have to work. I have to maintain my living. So other people have came up on their team, but like fortunately, I guess there was an opening in a division. It was, I think, what did I fight at? I think it was pretty low. It was pretty low for everyday weigh-ins, which really, really wrecked me in Italy. And also because it was in winter and we had really weird hours that we had to be at the venue to support the team. But also by the time we got done and got back, the sauna was only open for, if I was lucky, maybe an hour, if I got back in time. And that was really the only way to cut weight. It was just too cold to like do anything else um, in Italy. But I've always had a passion over Muay Thai over kickboxing. It's just that my foot got in the door early on with Waka.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I'm sure you're glad to be here with US Muay Thai now. Okay, and then you are also a photographer. You take a lot of photos of the team and some maybe some moments that um, some people that are not privy to that that you are as a fighter. So, talk to me about what got you into photography and maybe just share some of your favorite shots or some of your favorite things about what you do as a photographer.
Well, I don't know that I would call myself a photographer.
Fair.
Yeah, like I don't make money doing it. Like it's a hobby. Like sure, I would like it to turn into something more. Um, if I had time to, um, and I got into it more heavily, I guess, around COVID hitting, because it was something I could dive into and do. Um, and like I researched into just putting myself, devoting time into trying to learn this like craft, I guess. I've had interest in it beforehand, like because I used to go to a lot of like I don't know. I've always been like a thrill seeker and like an explorer, I guess. And I've always really enjoyed finding abandoned buildings to go into and like historical abandoned buildings. Um, so like that was something I used to do a lot growing up and with friends and from time to time. And
taking videos and photos going in there, but and people had told me I kind of had an eye for things like that, but I never really did anything with it. But when COVID hit, I kind of like tried to just put myself into a new task, learn something new, which I like to do from time to time, but I take on a lot of things and then like pull away from other things. So I would like to put more time into it, but I don't really have time to put into it because training and Muay Thai is overall number one, and I put a lot of my time into that. So it's really hard to put time into anything else. So I used to draw and paint a lot, and that was like my like that was just my me time. That was me. That was something that I could do for um that I really like doing. That I enjoy doing that and like hiking and the outdoors and stuff. And that's not something I've had a lot of time to be able to do since I started Muay Thai. That's something that's disappeared. And I guess that's something I learned that starting to do photography, I guess, um, had start to connect with the sport and allow me, I can use it. And it also is kind of like that outlet that I can hone into and still have that creative outlet. And, for me. And also at the same time, not only is there that creativity, it also allows me to be able to travel and see new things and, just venture to somewhere or something that I've not done before, get me outside of my bubble, which since I started Muay Thai, I've become more reclusive. Um, so it's kind of another like Muay Thai is my pill. Muay Thai is my medicine to stay alive, and this is kind of my equalizer to that. If, I don't know that's kind of a weird way to put it, but like it's a good balance. I need it. Like I put so much of me into Muay Thai, and that's all I focus on. That don't really do anything else. So that's just something else that I can like enjoy and do.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, you mentioned abandoned historical buildings. There are plenty of those in Birmingham. It's getting better where they're getting refilled and everything, but there are still plenty if that is something where you have downtime or something while you're here that you could do. There's an abandoned hospital that's been abandoned for years and years and years that people like to go into. That's some people consider it haunted at this point, but
I
uh,
like stuff like that. Yeah, if it's
yeah, yeah, it's
built
really interesting.
I'll check that out for sure. I drove to New Orleans years ago to go and like sneak into an old Six Flags that was abandoned after Hurricane Katrina. That was cool as fuck. Like that was one of the coolest places I've ever been to. I think, or I mean, I've been to a lot of really neat ones, but that one.
One of my buddies does similar things, and I don't know if it was at the Six Flags thing or what, but he got arrested doing one of those things, like trespassing in New Orleans, actually. So
Yeah.
that was pretty interesting. Anyway, before I let you go, I do want to give you the floor. How can people follow you on social media? And I'll give you the floor to give any shout outs to sponsors, coaches, anything like that.
Um. Well, so I mainly just use Instagram. Um. So my Instagram tag is Joseph Joseph Peculiar Peculiar Mueller Mueller. So that's my Instagram. I share everything from my Instagram to Facebook. I don't really use Facebook. I kind of get on there because like I have more family members that use it or like older maybe high school friends or something that still are on there, and so I like try to post those things to there for their sake, to keep them updated, especially with this World Games thing. This is how big this is. Um, but primarily I just use Instagram. I don't really use any other social media. I don't even like being on social media or Instagram. But
That's fair. Yeah.
it's a
it's definitely something you have to do for this sport because there's no one else out there promoting you, which is pretty cool to be able to have this opportunity like I am here on your network, and you're helping promote us. You're helping promote U.S. Muay Thai, um, which isn't something that we have enough of out there. So like Instagram's that only platform I have to do that for me as a fighter, for the sport. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have anything else out there really to share as far as the social media platforms or anything. Um, yeah. And then I guess as far as shout outs, just like anybody watching this, still, if people who like have hung in there to listen to me ramble, these people matter more than anything. People that support me. There's so many people that have supported me from amateur to where I am now. And some of them have stuck around, some of them haven't. Some of them still silently watch in the corner. I have people who, um, like HKA USA, they help me out with some of the dopest kickboxing, Muay Thai, gear out there. Made in USA, shin guards, gloves. A big shout out to them. Definitely check them out. Might have a promo code somewhere. So like, if anybody's interested in discounts for stuff like that, you guys can message me. I can share that with you. Um, Same thing for Impact mouth guards. I have a code for them as well. It's peculiar. Um, Double Jab. They've thrown me some gear as well. Another USA brand. Um, man, I hate this shouting out people because you always forget people, and I don't want anyone to be upset. But anyone that's I train with on a day-to-day basis, coaches, the brands have done so much helping me, allowing me to come out here and train with them. Um, so like I hope to bring this gold medal home. Like I don't know how else to repay them other than just bringing the gold medal back. Yeah, again, I'm sorry if I forgot anybody out there, but yeah, you guys, every single one of you, every single person that's been along this journey and still watching.
Yeah. Well, shout out to them. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with me, and we look forward to seeing you compete and hopefully go for that gold medal in the World Games 2022 later this week. Joseph, thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you for everything you're doing for the sport. Thank you.